Hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Chantel and sorry I haven't been around in a while. I've just been busy and didn't really have a whole lot to say or make videos about. But I'm back now and I'm gonna recap. I believe the last recap I did was for July, so I'm gonna talk about the books that I read in August and September, which is not actually a ton anyway, because August was kind of a slow reading month for me, so this shouldn't take super long anyway, because I was kind of slow in August in particular. I'm speeding up again, and I'm heading into October with a lot of reading momentum, so we'll see how that goes, especially because at the end of the month, I have some things going on towards the end of the month that might slow me down again, but we'll see. Anyway, what I read in August. I don't know that I have a whole lot to say about most of these books. It's been several weeks since I read them, so they're not very fresh, but here's what I got. I read Translation State, which is the most recent standalone in the Imperial Radish universe by Ann Leckie. It was great. I liked it. I really like all of the Imperial Radish novels. I just really like Ann Leckie. She's one of my favorite authors. She's kind of a she's just kind of one of those writers that like I'm just gonna be reading everything she writes, including I've even read her standalone fantasy novel, The Raven Tower, which was also really good. So like everything she writes is great. Translation State is no different. It's really hard to talk about these books though. It's hard to like explain the plots of them because they're very kind of strange, and it's very much about like the different cultures involved in her fictional universe, and so like it's really hard to like give a synopsis of these stories, but like they're really good and interesting, so like I highly recommend them. I highly recommend all of them basically. Then the next one that I read, and I'm just sort of going, I'm literally just looking at my story graph and going in the order that I read them. So after that, I did begin the Live Ship Traders trilogy with Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. This is another very, very good one. Not quite a 5-star. I think mostly the reason why I didn't give this one 5 stars is just because I didn't quite feel as emotionally connected to the characters in this as I did in the Farseer trilogy, mostly just because like this is a multi-POV book rather than a single POV book. I think that's a big part of it. That doesn't, however, mean that it is any less well written or any less interesting than the Farseer trilogy. Quite the opposite. I really enjoyed all of the just the weird stuff in this book. I really like it when fantasy books just are weird and let themselves be weird. And this definitely was weird. The combination of weird and the fact that this is a lot of like seafaring, pirates, R-matey stuff, really appeals. So, and the characters do continue to be extremely interesting, extremely well drawn, extremely complex characters, that I really like. I'm not invested in them, let's say. I would say I'm not like as emotionally connected to them as I am to Fitz, but that doesn't mean that they're not still really, really interesting characters, and I want to know what happens with them. So still very invested in this Realm of the Elderlings universe and thoroughly enjoying this, and I will be definitely reading the second book in this trilogy is going to be on my October TBR. So that's Ship of Magic. And then I read A Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan. This is the first book in the memoirs of Lady Trent. This was for one of my fantasy bingo board challenge slots. The entitled animals slot, so dragons in the title. I thought it was fun. It was interesting. I'll probably be continuing the series at some point, again, I don't know that I have a whole lot to say about it, but like, it's enjoyable. The character is, you know, you know, our main character, Lady Trent, is an interesting enough character. It's well written. It's an enjoyable story. I like the format of it being a memoir of this person, as like, basically she's a scientist studying these dragons, and this is literally her memoirs. I like that premise. I think that's a fun premise. So yeah, I'll be interested to see where it goes. It's not like mind-blowingly the most amazing thing I've ever read, but it was fun. Then I read another history nonfiction I finally managed to do another Historathon read. So I did read The Blazing World, A New History of Revolutionary England by Jonathan Healy. I really enjoyed this one. Yeah, this is a really good overview of this time period, both sort of social, cultural, political, and especially religious. I think, you know, I think that's one of the things that trips me up a lot, is the various sorts of religious arguments that are going on at this time, and what they meant to the people involved with them. Because I do think, you know, it's easy to poo-poo the various religious arguments of the past and say, oh, well, you're just arguing about nothing, which maybe they were, but it was important to a lot of the people involved at the time, right? These were very important things that these were to these people at the time. And he does a really good job of giving us an overview of of the different ideologies at play. And he has a really good further reading list at the back of the book, where he literally lists out a bunch of titles, for further reading about various topics that he touched upon in this book. So this is a really good overview, and it also just provides a lot of really good and interesting potential further reading into some of the issues that he brings up in this. So yeah, I enjoyed this a lot. It was it's very well written, a very readable history book. Then I read Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. This was a nice little palate cleanser between some bigger, chunkier reads. This is another one of her sort of twisted fairy tale retellings, and it was really fun. It was a really quick, less than 4 hour long audiobook. So I got through it in like one sitting pretty much. And yeah, I continue to really enjoy T. Kingfisher's work. Everything I read that she's written is interesting. It's well written. The characters are well drawn. She does interesting things with tropes. And so, you know, I really like everything she does. And I particularly enjoy the sort of twisted fairy tales that she has been putting out. I think they're super enjoyable retellings, reimaginings of fairy tales. I love a good sort of dark and sometimes darkly funny fairy tale retelling, and T. Kingfisher is one of the best doing it right now. And then I finished another big chonker. I finally finished Middlemarch by George Eliot. Yay! I literally started this back in January. I was trying to do a year of Middlemarch read along, and that kind of fell apart after a couple of months. So finally, in August, I sat down and was like, okay, I'm going to finish this. I just want to read it all the way through. I just want to do it. So I did. And I'm very glad that I did. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with these characters in this place. It's a very intricate book. The characters are just very, very, they're just so very human. All of them. They all have their little foibles. They all have their little things about them. Some of them are annoying. Some of them are pretentious. Some of them are ridiculous. Some of them are very well-meaning. And they're all very, very real. And I thoroughly enjoyed my time with this book. So yeah, definitely I'm definitely glad that I took the time to read this, and I will absolutely be reading more George Eliot in the future. I think she has quite a way with words. And then on a whim, I checked out the audiobook of The Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Buehlman. And this audiobook was read by the author, which I always enjoy, and I thoroughly enjoyed his reading of it. The Black Tongue Thief is a very fun, sort of darkly comic, dark fantasy adventure. And yeah, Buehlman reads it incredibly well. I love his tone. I love the sort of deadpan nature of the way that he tells the jokes. He's extremely good. He also sings the songs. There's multiple songs in this, and he actually sings them, which I think is wonderful. And he has a great voice too. So it was a very immersive, enjoyable experience with this book. Thoroughly enjoyed The Black Tongue Thief. Also, I'm well into September by now. Sorry, I didn't even notice that, but yes, I only read a handful of books in August, and now I'm thoroughly into September reads. And of course, a book that I was highly anticipating was released in September, and I pre-ordered it, and I read it almost immediately upon receiving it, and that is, of course, Somewhere Beyond the Sea by T.J. Klune. This is the sequel to The House in the Cerulean Sea from a few years ago. I really love the characters in these books. Love them. These are delightful books. I love this special edition with it's got lovely gilded pages. I also purchased the special edition of the first one that also has these sort of sprayed pages, so they're nice and matchy. But yeah, Linus and Arthur are adorable. The kids in these books are absolutely delightful, and I would read 18 books that were just like these kids getting into shenanigans of various sorts. They're just that fun. And yeah, it's just a lot of heart, a lot of soul. The characters are just really fun, and yeah, I don't know what else to say about these. If you haven't read them, you should, because they're really cute. And then I did read a very short story by Martha Wells, the Murderbot short story, Home, Habitat, Range, Niche, Territory, which is like 19 pages long, and it took me like 20 minutes to read. So I did read that. I want to note that, but I don't know that I have much to say about it because it was so short that like I don't know that there's really anything I can say about it. It's deep within the Murderbot Diaries series. To explain it would be to just tell you the whole story, and like if you're in the Murderbot world, you should just read it and see for yourself. It's a nice little story. So there's that. And then I also started. I read The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Neve Vo. This is the first in the Singing Hills cycle, and I really enjoyed it. I really like Neve Vo. I read a year or two ago, I read The Chosen and the Beautiful by Neve Vo, which I also really enjoyed. So I've been looking forward to starting the series for a while, and I just randomly decided to give it a shot. So I did, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I love the premise of it, as like it's this sort of traveling cleric who collects stories, and I really enjoyed this sort of process of hearing the stories as they develop and getting the perspective of this person who's telling the story and trying to understand where they're coming from and what their experience was like. It was really well written. I thoroughly enjoyed that little novella, so I'll definitely be continuing with that series. And then finally, most recently here, within the last few days, I finished a reread of Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. I read this a little over a year ago now, I think, for the first time, and I really enjoyed it, but then as I was thinking about reading the next one in the trilogy, I realized that I had very few memories. I just blanked on it. So, yeah, I just reread it. And I have the second and third books are on order and on their way to me. So, yeah, I really enjoy this. I really enjoy this book. I really enjoy this world. I love Rebecca Roanhorse. I've read several of her books at this point, and I've thoroughly enjoyed every one of them that I have read. So, yeah, I really, I love the darkness of it. I love the dark magic. I love the atmosphere. I love the Mesoamerican, semi-Mesoamerican sort of setting. I think it's great. And the characters are all really interesting, and I can't wait to see what happens next to them, because it's going to be a wild ride. I can tell. It's going to be a very wild ride. So that's that. So yeah, that's all the books I've read in the past 2 months. As you can see, it's not as many as, you know, so I have slowed down a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 total over the past 2 months, if you count the 19-page long short story. So yeah, not nearly as many as I had been previously, but that's okay. I mean, you know, I'm not concerned about it. I will probably do a video here pretty soon to talk about some of my plans for October, because I do have a few plans for October in terms of my reading. And also I have a big haul video that I need to do because I've been purchasing a lot of books lately. I'm just waiting on a few more books to come in that I have on order that are on their way. Once I get all those, I will be doing a massive haul video because I've bought quite a few books recently. It's a problem, and it is going to continue to be a problem in the near future. So there's that. So yeah, I do have videos in the works. I will not be disappearing entirely for the foreseeable future anyway. So anyway, that's it for that. What have you been reading recently? Any good recs? What are your plans for the spooky season? I want to know. I'm definitely going to be reading some spooky stories for spooky season. Leave them in the comments, like, subscribe, whatever you want to do, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.